Japanese, Lesson 2, 買い物, shopping, Part 1, vocabulary. Vocabulary. These are the words that we're going to learn today. For each word, I'll read the word in Japanese, then read the word in English, then say an example sentence in Japanese, then translate that into English. Words that point. これ means this one. An example sentence would be これは日本語, which would mean this language is Japanese. それ means that one. An example sentence would be それはアメリカ人, which would mean that is an American person. あれ means that one over there. An example sentence would be あれは中国人, which means that is a Chinese person. どれ means which one. An example sentence would be どれが正解, which would mean which one is correct. この means this. An example sentence would be この椅子は壊れている, which would mean this chair is broken. その means that. An example sentence would be そのコップは割れている, which would mean that cup is broken. あの means that over there. An example sentence would be あのお皿は壊れている, which would mean that plate is broken. どの means which. An example sentence would be どのカバンですか, which would mean which bag is it. ここ means here. An example sentence would be ここに来て, which means come here. そこ means there. An example sentence would be そこに犬がいる, which would mean there is a dog there. あそこ would mean over there. An example sentence would be あそこに行って, which means go over there. どこ means where. An example sentence would be どこにいる, which would mean where are you. 誰 means who. An example sentence would be 誰ですか, which means who are you. Food. おいしい means delicious. An example sentence would be ラーメンはおいしい, which means the ramen is delicious. 魚 means fish. An example sentence would be 魚を食べる, which means I eat fish. とんかつ means pork cutlet. An example sentence would be とんかつを食べる, which would mean I eat pork cutlet. 肉 means meat. An example sentence would be 肉を焼く, which means I cook meat. Menu means menu. An example sentence would be メニューを見る, which would mean I look at the menu. 野菜 means vegetable. An example sentence would be 野菜を食べる, which would mean I eat vegetable. Things. 鉛筆 means pencil. An example sentence would be 鉛筆で書く, which would mean I write with a pencil. 傘 means umbrella. An example sentence would be 傘を差す, which would mean I put up an umbrella. カバン means bag. An example sentence would be カバンを買う, which would mean I buy a bag. 靴 means shoes. An example sentence would be 靴を履く, which means I wear shoes. 財布 means wallet. An example sentence would be 財布を落とす, which would mean I drop my wallet. Jeans means jeans. An example sentence would be ジーンズを履く, which would mean I wear jeans. 辞書 means dictionary. An example sentence would be 辞書を引く, which would mean I look up in a dictionary. 自転車 means bicycle. An example sentence would be 自転車に乗る, which would mean I ride a bicycle. 新聞 would mean newspaper. An example sentence would be 新聞を読む, which means I read the newspaper. T シャツ means t-shirt. An example sentence would be T シャツを着る, which would mean I wear a t-shirt. 時計 means watch or clock. An example sentence would be 時計を買う, which would mean I buy a watch. ノート means notebook. An example sentence would be ノートを買う, which would mean I buy a notebook. Pen means pen. An example sentence would be ペンを買う, which would mean I buy a pen. 帽子 means hat or cap. An example sentence would be 帽子をかぶる, which would mean I put on a hat. 本 means book. An example sentence would be 本を読む, which would mean I read a book. Places. 喫茶店 means cafe. An example sentence would be 喫茶店に行く, which would mean I go to a cafe. 銀行 would mean bank. An example sentence would be 銀行へ行く, which would mean I go to the bank. Toilet means toilet or restroom. An example sentence would be トイレに行く, which would mean I go to the bathroom. 図書館 would mean library. An example sentence would be 図書館に行く, which would mean I go to a library. 郵便局 would mean post office. An example sentence would be 郵便局に行く, which would mean I go to a post office. Countries. アメリカ would mean USA. An example sentence would be アメリカに行く, which would mean I go to the USA. イギリス would mean Britain. An example sentence would be イギリスに行く, which would mean I go to Britain. 韓国 means Korea. An example sentence would be 韓国に行く, which would mean I go to Korea. 中国 means China. An example sentence would be 中国に行く, which would mean I go to China. Money matters. いくら would mean how much. An example sentence would be これはいくら which would mean how much is this. Something yen would mean something yen. An example would be 300円 which would mean 300 yen. 高い means expensive or high. An example sentence would be あのバッグは高い which would mean that bag is expensive. Expressions. いらっしゃいませ means welcome to our store. Something をお願いします would mean something please. An example sentence would be チャンネル登録をお願いします which would mean subscribe, please. Something をください would mean please give me something. An example sentence would be 資料をください which would mean please give me the documents. じゃあ would mean then, or if that is the case. An example sentence would be じゃあまた明日会いましょう which would mean then, let's meet tomorrow. どうぞ would mean please, or here it is. どうも would mean thank you. Part 2 would be about grammar. See you next week.